The Andes Mountains, November 16, 1532. Spanish conquistadors, led by Francisco Pizarro, capture the Incan emperor Atahualpa and kill 5,000 of his men in the course of just 1 hour. Pizarro is on a quest to both conquer the New World and plunder as much gold as he can find.
Pizarro starts to take these gold and riches from the kingdoms of the Andes. And this really starts a precedent for conquistadors trying to take riches and send them back to Europe. This quest for gold is what drives them.
From the European point of view, once there was the hint of gold up in the hills of South America, it was an absolute frenzy. The indigenous people all around them were literally draped in gold, the likes of which Europeans never would see back at home.
As the Spanish conquistadors encountered indigenous people throughout South America, they heard stories of a vast city made entirely out of gold. In fact, the Spanish came up with a name for the Golden City. They called it El Dorado.
The name El Dorado comes from the words, the golden. That's literally what it translates to. The Spanish trekked through rainforests and across swollen rivers, then up icy mountains in search of what they assumed had to be a hidden city of gold, a place of untold riches just waiting to be plundered.
There were similarities to all of these stories, and that kept the Spaniards thinking, well, maybe there's something to this. Maybe it's not a myth. And because they don't know exactly where it is, it starts to be thought of as a lost city.
The Spanish belief that El Dorado was a real lost city of gold was reinforced when they came into contact with a mysterious civilization known as the Muisca people.
The Muisca were the indigenous people who occupied this particular highland area of the Andes, which is today Colombia. And they occupied this area for about 1,000 years, beginning in 600 AD. And in fact, they were so sophisticated that they really take their place alongside better-known empires in the region, such as the Inca.
The Muisca were incredible goldsmiths. They were really skilled craftsmen at gold work, finely wrought, thinly pounded gold. They made animals. They made gold that was depictions of their deities.
Spanish conquistadors searching for El Dorado came to believe that it was built by the Muisca because of a curious ritual they supposedly performed high in the mountains at a body of water known as Lake Guatavita.
When the Muisca initiated a new leader, there was a very specific ceremony that they performed on Lake Guatavita. The leader would plaster his body in gold dust. He would climb into a raft surrounded by priests. At his feet was a pile of offerings, gold and jewels. Once they had paddled out to the middle of the lake, he would make his offering to the god. And that involved dropping all of the valuables off the raft into the water, and then diving in himself so that the gold dust would be washed from his body.
When the conquistadors began to hear about these rituals that involved gold and a golden man, it stood to reason that this place, El Dorado, a lost city, is going to be somewhere out there.
The Spanish heard rumors that the Muisca had performed this golden ceremony at Lake Guatavita for 1,000 years, since the beginning of their civilization. The conquistadors believed that El Dorado must be an ancient hidden city where, centuries earlier, the ancestors of the Muisca had stockpiled vast amounts of gold to be used in the sacred ritual.
As conquistadors kept trying to find El Dorado, they found a lot of gold. They found gold work made by the Muisca that was really, really elaborate. And they kept getting just enough to sort of tantalize them to know or believe that there would be more, but they never quite found the El Dorado that they had been looking for.